Hello, this is Julie here from funcraftstodoathome.com, and this week we're going to make this beautiful charm cuff bracelet from paper beads. So the reason that I'm doing this is because on one of my previous videos I wore this bracelet that you see here, and a couple of people contacted me and said, did I make the bracelet myself? Well, yes, I did, and they wanted me to do a tutorial showing how I made the bracelet. So that's what this is for. The design of these comes from a template that I made and sell in my Etsy shop. So these are the templates. It's the same one printed 3 times, and you're going to need between 16 and 18 beads depending on how big your wrist is. And you will also need a bead rolling tool. Now this is one that I designed and I manufacture this myself. If you're interested in buying one, please contact me through my website. There will be a link at the end. It's very easy to use, and it gives you the large core beads, the 5mm. You're also going to need a glue stick to stick the ends of the beads down, and a dye-based ink pad, such as this one. And you're going to need a metal ruler, a scalpel and a cutting mat. Also, you'll need something very shiny and hard to glaze your beads with. I use Glossy Accents by Ranger because I found that this is the shiniest glaze I could find. You will also need some toothpicks for putting your beads on to dry, a stick to put your beads on while you're glazing them, and a piece of Oasis to stick the beads in while they're drying. You're also going to need some 1mm elastic to thread your beads on, and a selection of charms. You're also going to need some split rings to put your charms on. I use quite small ones. And you're going to need some small silver beads with a 1mm hole in. I will put links on my blog to where you can source these products from. So to get started, we need to cut these strips up, which is why you need the cutting mat and scalpel and metal ruler. So my printer doesn't print right to the edge, so I just cut this strip off because we don't need that. And then you just need to cut up. I think I used 16 beads for this bracelet. I had used more in the original bracelet and it was a little bit too big. So make sure you cut off any of the sort of extra white strips. You don't want them on your beads. So there's my strips, and I am now going to colour the edge of the strips. Now the reason that I do this is because it saves time with painting the ends. Now you see in a moment here, this is my original bracelet, and the ends here that are this kind of pinky colour, I painted them with acrylic paint. And of course you've got to paint them and then wait for them to dry. This way, okay, so this is what it looks like if you colour the edges with the dye-based ink pad. You don't have to worry about painting them afterwards. Okay, so it's up to you. You can either, dye the edges before or paint them afterwards. Entirely up to you. I'm now going to roll the beads, and make sure you take the lid off your glue stick before you start to roll, because so many times I've forgotten to take mine off and I end up, not being able to get it off with one hand. So you can see here it's quite straightforward how you use this bead tool. You've got to make sure that you get the end hooked in there, just like this, and then nip the shaft of the bead tool with your thumb and forefinger until you've got the beads started and nice and tight in there, and then you just roll to the end. I didn't get some of mine, quite even, but that doesn't really matter too much because you'll see at the end how I deal with that. I mean, they're mainly okay, they're fine, I was just in a bit of a hurry. So just going to show you another one here. Just make sure that you keep them nice and tight. Just pull that with your left hand if you're right-handed as you roll. Keep it nice and snug. So there's mine all done. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, you don't have to do this. If you see the insides of these beads are very white, I decided to take a Sharpie pen in turquoise blue, and it just kind of finishes off the insides. You know, just makes them look a little bit more finished, and you know, you don't see the flash of white in there. So I just did that to all of my beads, both ends, but again, you don't have to, it's personal choice. So see, that's quite a difference. And the next thing is to glaze the beads to make them splash proof. They're never going to be waterproof because the inside isn't glazed, but the bracelet that I had in the previous film is still going strong, and it's several years old now. I can't remember what I used to glaze that, probably diamond glaze, but I use glossy accents all the time now. It gives the lovely shine that I want on my beads, and it does seem to be very durable. So I put my beads onto a paintbrush, a tapered paintbrush, and slide it down to the thickest part, and it helps to, when you're glazing, the bead won't spin round, and it makes things easier. So when you've done your glazing, just put the bead onto a toothpick and stick it into the florist's oasis, as I have done. And I tend to squeeze the glossy accents out into a palette because it dries very quickly, so I use a little bit at a time. See that lovely shine on there? So this is how you finish the ends. Some of the ends are a little bit scraggy. So the glossy accents is dimensional, so if you put, as I'm doing here, put a good glob all around the edge, that's how it's going to dry up. It will just fill in any sort of indentations that there are, like this, where I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing when I rolled. See that? So that lovely dimensional look will remain. Obviously it will, it will dry up not as, it's not going to be as globby as this. It's really good stuff. I love glossy accents. I will put a link on my blog if you're not sure where to get yours from. You should be able to get it in any good craft store. And there's mine on my piece of oasis, drying, and leave them to dry for several hours, especially if you put if you put it on the ends the way that I did. It needs several hours to dry. So mine are dry and ready to go to the next stage. So you need to take your charms and put the split rings on them. It's a bit fiddly, but I do mine all at once so that I can just get on and thread the beads without having to stop to put split rings on every charm. So just do them all. You'll need one charm for every bead that you have. There's mine done. And I will put links. I will try and source as many of these charms as I can. So next thing, you need your 1mm rolled elastic, and you need around about 5 or 6 feet. I know that sounds like a lot. Oh yeah, before you actually thread them, what I do now with my round beads is I squash them flat, because they do sit better on your wrist. See that lovely shine from the glossy accents, gorgeous. Now you can arrange them however you want. I personally just do mine randomly. I don't worry about the pattern. So you take your rolled elastic and you thread one end in the top of the bead and one end in the bottom, and then you pull both ends. Try to keep the ends even, and then you pull the bead down to the end. It looks complicated until you know how to do it, and then it's quite easy. So you take your silver bead with the 1mm hole in, and you thread that on next, and then the elastic that comes out of the bottom of the bead you thread your charm onto through the split ring, and just carry on doing this. Add a bead, a paper bead, a silver bead, and then a charm all the way to the end. So in the top and up through the bottom, add your silver bead, add your charm, and so on. Very, very easy. And you're going to have to gauge how many paper beads you need for your size wrist, or the wrist of the person that you're making this for, because these make fantastic gifts, because they last and last and last. The only problem that I had with the original one that I made was the little beads that I used to go on the top of the bracelet were very, very cheap, and the coating wore off, but apart from that they've been absolutely fine. I like to add a small charm at the end that says handmade or made just for you or something like that. So to finish off, you take the elastic from the end that you've just finished and you put it through the bead where you started at the other end, and you pull them together. And then you need to just cut off any excess elastic, tie a knot, and oh yeah, don't forget to add your charm if you want to put one on that's got something, you know, this one says just for you, which is quite nice if you're giving a gift. So I've tied mine nice and tightly, and then I put a tiny dab of glue on the knot just to make sure, and then tuck it into one of the beads, and there you have your charm bracelet. If you don't want to add charms to your bracelet straight away, you can just put these split rings onto the elastic without the charms, and then you can add charms as you find them as time goes on. I hope you have fun making your own. If you want to use this particular design, you can get it in my Etsy shop, which I will leave a link at the end of this video, and also on my website, which is funcraftstodoathome.com. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!